Hi, welcome to Toronto, Canada on this snowy day. I'm Duncan Brinsmead, I'm Principal Scientist with Alias. I'm going to be showing you a few tips and tricks on how to use Maya Fluids feature. Why don't we come on into the office here and we'll go upstairs and get Nihar. He's going to help us out a bit. You know, an important thing when you come here is make sure to grab one of these candies. They're really good. Okay, this is our lobby here as you come in. And we've got our Academy Award in a nice bulletproof box here. Okay, and we're going to show some rather detailed stuff on fluid expressions using particles and spray, kind of show you how to set up some oceans, create wakes and splashes, and also do a range of cloud effects. But we're going to concentrate on the dynamic interaction of particles and fluids. And so it's going to be quite technical. Oh, and look, here's our visualization center. This is brand new. It's a cool facility. We can bring in customers and show them all kinds of stuff here. We've got, you completely get surrounded by screens. And we can also try out new interactive experiences and stuff in here. Here, let's go and get Nihar. So this DVD has on it a number of technical examples on how to use fluids. It's not for beginners, really, so you should have some background before using it. And the examples themselves are not finished examples. They're more just illustrating principles you can use when you want to create fluid simulation. Doing things like crashing ocean wakes and things usually involve a huge range of techniques. So you probably will use these in combination to get your final desired effect. Oh, here's Nihar. Hey, Nihar. Hi, ready to do the Fluids DVD? Let's go get some coffee. I'm in desperate need of a little Java. Maybe even some espresso too would be good. Let me grab a cup here, get some coffee. I think Nihar doesn't like coffee, you know? I don't know what his problem is, but such is life. Okay, let's go start the DVD.
Fluid Effects allows you to create a full ocean with a single button click under the Create Ocean command. Let's look at some of the options here. You can create a preview plane, which I'd recommend, and set its size. There's also an attach to camera option, which I'll explain a little bit further, a little later. For now, let's just create an ocean. And you see we have, there's a large circular plane that's created. And it concentrates, the design of this is just a NURBS plane, but it's been designed to concentrate most of the triangles in the center, so that as long as your view is close to the center, you get very good displacement on the polys. And then there's also additionally this preview plane object, which you can position around your ocean. You can translate it, and you can also even non-proportionally scale it to kind of preview the ocean in places. So you could create extra preview planes. You can set the resolution on it, and they'll play back and they'll show the ocean in movement, and it'll also show some of the attributes on the ocean like foam and color and stuff. Just to give you a better idea, sometimes you could attach this to where a boat is, maybe, so that you just see the ocean around where a boat is. And it's nice and fast to draw on the interface, which is nice. And then the actual rendering is done by the surface, which is computed as a displacement. The ocean shader itself does not directly have it has a built-in bump map on it, and it connects to a displacement node. And one of the things to keep in mind here is that the ocean shader it uses just uniform tessellation, or whatever the tessellation is on the surface. It does not use the adaptive or the on the shape under tessellation here. Sorry, under displacement map. there's feature-based displacement. Assigning an ocean shader will automatically turn that off because we don't want the tessellation to be adaptively refining when it's being computed. The other thing is that the displacement, the feature-based displacement is assuming that there's no bump phase, so it displaces the triangles, and then the normals are also displaced and reflect the displaced triangles. When feature-based is off, the displacement pass, it displaces the triangles, but it doesn't modify the normals. And then it's up to the bump phase to modify the normals. And this avoids certain linear interpolation artifacts you might see across your surface if your triangles aren't fine enough. So using the non-feature-based is really what you have to use if you're going to use the ocean shader. And it doesn't have a separate bump on it. It has a built-in bump map, and it's got a built-in texture on the ocean shader. It's a little unusual for a shader. It's not only got say an out color and an out transparency, which most shaders have, but it's got an out displacement, which you can connect into things. Like in this case, it connects into the displacement of the surface. So let's look at some of the parameters here on the ocean shader. There's a scale parameter, which is generally you adjust to your scene size. So it's by default, the wave speed of 1 is trying to have about the right speed of motion where one of these units here is a meter. And in this case, then the wavelength would be defined in meters of waves, and then the actual speed of animation would come out correct. You can adjust the overall scale, and what that is saying is sort of what the general size of a meter is. So if you're saying that each of these units now, if I've said it like this, I'm saying each of these units represents 1.75 meters. And so we're essentially getting in closer to the ocean surface by doing this. And you can see the waves look bigger because we're proportionately closer. If we do this, if we make it like 10, then it's like we're way up in, quite a bit higher on the ocean. So also for speed, the default ocean settings aren't too complex in terms of the waves that you get. It has only 3 frequencies or 3 separate frequency groups. The more frequency groups you have, the slower it is to compute because it has to compute more waves on the ocean. And at this point, I also like to mention it. The ocean shader itself is not dynamic in that the waves aren't computed in reaction to forces, and you don't have to bake and simulate them. The waves are simply textural and procedurally generated, but they do match the nature of waves you get on the ocean, and you can get some nice wave peaking effects and things that can be difficult to get with other means. So you've got these controls here that let you vary the behavior of the wave across the range of frequencies. So the range of frequencies is defined by the num frequencies, and then the spread of them is the wavelength min to max. So at the left of each of these graph widgets here, it represents the wavelength min, and the right represents the wavelength max. So let's say let's increase the number of frequencies a bit to 10. So now you'll get, if you want a turbulent ocean, and in general, more frequencies generally looks better. So we could make under wave height, let's make the wavelength max larger too, so we have like some, so we have some 10-meter waves. So now we have some very large waves mixed in with the small ones. We can, if we want to exaggerate the size of the large waves but not the small ones, here I can increase the wave height, and it's only increasing the height of the large waves, or the largest frequencies, but the small ones are still low. And you see, if I knock the small frequencies down to 0, it becomes very smooth. Or we could do the opposite. We could make the small frequencies high, and the large waves, we could knock down. in general, when you've got an ocean that's forming waves, sort of the history of how they're formed will determine partly the makeup of the different frequencies. Usually, I think, you know, your strongest frequencies are somewhat in the middle of the overall frequencies, and there's kind of peak areas where you'll get the strongest wave frequencies, and then it'll die out as they'll get to large waves. And on an open ocean, you might get, you know, 200-meter waves, but they're like very, very large and very shallow swells, so you wouldn't even see them, and you probably wouldn't even need to worry about trying to recreate them. So it's just a matter of finding, you know, if the wind comes up suddenly, right, it'll initially increase the height of the low frequency waves, because the added wind turbulence makes them break up, and the small waves, right? The ones that are on the bottom. Actually the high frequency waves. The small waves will quickly die out. The large waves die out less quickly. So if you've had a storm that's distant and been brewing for a while, you have a lot of big waves that'll come, but there'll be no small waves on them because there's no current wind. So it's just kind of the remnants of big waves. So different conditions can create all different kinds of waves. There's a turbulence attribute, which is generally pretty useful. And I would, in general, for most conditions, just keep it all the way up. But in some cases, you might just want simple linear waves, in which case you can drop it down to 0. And notice that the moment this becomes 0, it gets a lot faster, because now it doesn't compute any turbulence, and when it's not, and then you can see the effect. If you just have one frequency, then we just have a simple wave happening, right? The wind direction determines the base direction of the wave, so we could kind of make it diagonal by changing the wind direction. And as we increase the number of frequencies, they're mostly going in roughly the same direction, but you can change the wave direction spread, and then the waves will tend to go in different directions as you increase the number of frequencies. And eventually, as you have enough frequencies, it becomes more turbulent. Note also, we might want to lower the wave height. The way the frequencies add up, in general, the more frequencies have, because they sum, you want to lower the wave heights so that you don't get huge, enormous waves. With wave peaking, one thing to keep in mind is it only works if you have wave turbulence. So if your turbulence, it only acts on the turbulent waves. So as we lower wave turbulence, you get more and more of just the linear waves mixed in with the turbulent wave groups, which are more expensive to compute. The wave peaking is only done on the turbulent wave groups. So generally, if you keep the turbulence all the way up, if you want to see wave peaking effects, it's the best. Now, notice if I have the wave peaking all the way down, we get smooth waves, and as you increase the wave peaking, there's this effect of the waves come together, and the smaller waves will get pulled along by the larger peaking waves, and you can specify wave peaking at the small wave level or the large waves. You might have some ocean conditions where you've got smooth waves in the low frequencies, but then the little waves are still peaking because a wind has just kind of come up and it's making the small waves peak. Okay, now in addition to that, we have some foam. And the foam, you just kind of have to play with it to get a general sense of it. But there's sort of a notion of foam emission. And the foam will look best if you have a lot of frequencies, because the more frequencies you have, the more noise frequencies you have in the noise texture that we're using for the foam. And I could just, if we want to see this a little better, I'll go to our preview plane and we'll up the resolution so we can better preview the look of the foam here. We can even type in values like 400 on the resolution, although then it starts to get a bit slow.